Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Trying to with Leah. Today, we are talking jobs, the best of the best, the worst of the worst, and those that somehow manage to be both at the exact same time. So, before we begin, I do have a quick but important reminder. Of course, I will not be sharing any private information about any residents, coworkers, clients, managers, or companies, anything like that. I fully respect privacy laws, and of course, I am going to abide by HIPAA and any non disclosure agreements that I've ever signed in my healthcare career, which that is routine for professional agreements. So, everything that I'm sharing today is strictly my own experience. It's from my perspective, and it's about the lessons that I learned and nothing more. So, as always, I do ask that you keep the comments positive as well as professional. If you are in the healthcare field, I ask that you abide by HIPAA and all of your professional agreements that you have signed as well. Um, this is a space for growth and not gossip. So, we are not here to out anyone or make anyone feel badly about themselves. What we are here to do is to talk about our own experiences and what we've learned. So I hope that you are excited to get started. Okay, so let's start with one of the most surprising things that I have learned in my career. Sometimes your favorite job and your least favorite job are actually the same job, just under different leadership. And that happens far too frequently, especially in healthcare. I have worked in environments before where teamwork wasn't just encouraged, it was intentionally built into the structure of every single thing that we did. Especially in one location that I recall, we had a brilliant system. It required every single one of us to rely on each other to get our own jobs done every day. So, all day long, you were helping out other people and receiving help from your coworkers. Everyone had to work together. It wasn't an option to work on your own. And of course, because of that, the tasks felt balanced. The workload felt fair, and a miracle started happening. We started bonding. We started trusting each other to be there every time we needed each other, even when things got hard, even when we were having disagreements, which happens frequently in healthcare, especially with young girls working together. But even when we were having those disagreements, we still had to work together. We still had to go do different things throughout our day together. So we learned how to push all of that aside because we care about the people that we're taking care of and we care about our jobs and the work that we're doing. And guess who got the biggest benefit of all? The residents. They could literally feel the positivity, they could feel the teamwork. It created this upbeat, home like environment that was just so welcoming. And it's something that I still think about years later. Now, of course, not every workplace is like that. In fact, most workplaces are not like that. Of course, my next role wasn't terrible by any means, but the energy was definitely different. People were more independent, they were more reserved and a little quieter, but you didn't see as much of helping each other. It was really only when they had to that they did. But, and this is a big but, the management team was phenomenal. They were the type of team that they would just come in, get it done. You would see, especially our main manager, in the dining room passing out plates, running down the hallway with a housekeeping cart, uh, changing light bulbs. vacuuming after dinner, even picking up on the night shift just to help out with non clinical duties. They set a standard that said to their employees, no job is beneath me. They were the kind of managers that they would do every single job that they would pay an employee to do. And that's special. That is a great leader. That's somebody who's inspiring and who can lead a team of people. And that kind of leadership changes everything. But unfortunately, in long term care and in healthcare in general, leadership turnover can be really, really high. And when you lose a great manager, you're not just losing a leader, you're losing somebody who knows your work ethic. They know your strengths and they know your potential. They have seen you grow and they see how you've handled situations. But can they effectively communicate that to the next leader? That's a concern that I think all of us would have at that point in time. So, of course, when my manager left, it was a bittersweet moment. I was happy for them, but suddenly I was facing the uncertainty of not knowing what was next. Will the next manager understand me? Will they see my potential? Or am I going to have to prove myself all over again? So, luckily, the next leader that came in was just as much of a rock star as the first. And they recognized something in me that I hadn't fully recognized in myself yet. I had a drive and I wanted to move up in healthcare. I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could. And they saw that in me. For the first time in my career, I felt safe talking and sharing about my long term goals, coming up with new and inspiring paths that I could take. And because of that openness, I was able to begin training for a career path that I didn't even think was possible for me. I was enrolled in a program for future leadership, studying, learning, training, moving on towards licensure. And it was all while I was working at a job that I loved. I got to take residents on outings. I got to organize meaningful activities. I got to bring fun into the workplace. And I got to check off bucket list items with these residents that I had truly gotten to know and grown to love on a deep, deep level. That job filled my soul, truly. And without a doubt, without question, it is the absolute most favorite job I have ever had. But of course, career paths are not straight lines. And after a while, that rock star manager decided to go as well. And of course, it was another positive transition. So you can't be mad. But at the same time, I was left once again with that uncertainty. I was preparing to meet a new leader and hoping that everything that I had worked for, everything that I had built up until this point, wouldn't just evaporate in front of my eyes. I wish I could tell you that my luck continued. I wish I could tell you that the next manager that came through was just as much of a rock star as those previous managers. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. Lightning does not strike thrice. So from the very first day, you could just feel that the energy was different. I quickly went from feeling valued and supported to feeling scrutinized at every turn. And it's not in a let's help you grow kind of way, like it should have been, but more like a constant pressure. Sense that no matter what I did, no matter how above and beyond I could go, it's just never going to be enough. So over time, leaders began leaving one by one, and the environment shifted from one of collaboration to, I feel, one of tension. And I want to make this clear. This was my experience. I'm not speaking for anyone else, but from where I stood, things quickly became overwhelming. Communication started feeling strained. Feedback felt way less constructive and far more just discouraging. Eventually, I felt like I had to speak up. So I reached out to the higher ups and I was hoping to be heard. I was really hoping that things would improve, not only for me, but for our team and for the residents. And the response that I received initially sounded reassuring. But the very next day, I was questioned as to why I had reached out in the first place. That left me feeling completely unheard and unsafe opening up again. As time went on, the atmosphere started becoming heavier and heavier. I found myself working harder than ever, and yet I was constantly feeling like I was falling short. Every task outside of direct activities, breaks, working on the calendars, and doing paperwork, doing conference calls, meals support, all of that suddenly became ammunition to suggest that I wasn't doing enough. It became clear that I was being pushed out, indirectly, but unmistakably. And when you put your heart and soul into a job, when you care so deeply about the people that you are taking care of, and you give years of dedication, that hurts on a level that's hard to even describe. So, yes, there were some days that I had to remind myself not to cry at work. Days when I felt like everything that I had worked for was just slipping away. Eventually, after being questioned about why I seemed emotional and feeling shamed for just simply being human, I reached a point where I knew I couldn't do this anymore. Something had to change. So at that point in time, I made the hardest decision of my career. I chose myself. I chose my mental health. I chose peace over toxicity. Leaving the residents and the coworkers that I cared about so deeply was heartbreaking. It was devastating. But staying in a place that made me feel small and discouraged and even defeated would have done so much more harm in the long run. But walking away taught me some of the biggest lessons of my life. First off, your well being is worth so much more than your paycheck. Your peace is priceless, and you should protect it like it's priceless. And you are not obligated to stay at a place that breaks you just because you care about the people that you are working with or working for or the work that you are doing. As hard as it feels to walk away, you have to know deep down that it's what's right for you. So if you're watching this and you've ever dealt with a toxic job or a discouraging manager, please know that you are not alone. I am right there with you, as are many of us, especially in the healthcare field. And you deserve better. I promise you. Trust your instincts. Trust yourself. Stand up for yourself. And if you ever find that you're giving everything and receiving little to nothing in return, That's your sign. That is your permission slip. That is your flashing neon lights saying, hey, it's time. It's time to go. There's no more growth to be had here. So, thank you for listening to my story today. I hope, honestly, that it brings you comfort or hopefully clarity, maybe even courage to someone out there. So, if this has helped you in any way, or if you have had a similar situation, let me know in the comments. Also, I have a quick question that came up yesterday. So, of course, I am a pet owner. You guys have seen Molly and Luna on here, and I tend to kind of morph my pets' names sometimes. So, for example, like I had a dog named Piper, and her middle name was Bear, and that was chosen by me. So it was always Piper Bear, and then it eventually became Piper Pepper Bear, and then sometimes it was Peter Piper Pepper Bear. And so we would just kind of morph it as we went along, my son and I and our family. And so Luna, of course, is Luna Moon, and my son chose that middle name. So we actually don't morph hers very often, but when she gets crazy and things like that, we may call her Luna Looney Tunes. Sometimes we call her Luna Zoomer, whenever she's zooming around the house. But uh, Molly, our newest addition, Molly Wobbles, she's a fun one. And I have thoroughly enjoyed morphing her name anytime her personality comes out. So, yeah, not only is she Molly Wobbles because she does wobble around a lot, but she is also Molly Monster, Molly Munchkin, Molly Oxenfree when we can't find her. We've called her Mollykins, all kinds of different names. So, am I just a crazy pet owner? I've already resigned myself to the fact that I'm probably a crazy cat lady, but whatever. So you let me know. Am I crazy for doing this? Is this something that happens all the time? Because I have never heard anybody else do this. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and join me next time. And remember that if you are trying, you are on the right track because life gets better when you try. Have a great day.